leaky database spilled two-factor codes for the world's tech giants, including Facebook, WhatsApp, Google, TikTok, and others. The only thing that you needed to access this database was a browser. They said their server did not store access logs, which could have determined if anyone other than Sen had discovered the exposed database and its contents.
If you're not logging data plane events and control plane events, you lose some resolution on what happened. And most of the logs that people turn on in cloud environments, believe it or not, they actually don't track data plane events by default.
How do you pick an SMS provider that doesn't suck?
One of the things I think you might ask for is a letter of attestation, like when's the last time they were tested? And was it tested by a reputable firm? And good luck like defining what a reputable firm is. By the way, if you do need a reputable firm, we'd like to humbly put forth Black Hills Information Security. eBay, VMware, McAfee sites hijacked in sprawling phishing operation. MSN Martha Stewart sweeps.com. Though the domain was abandoned for 21 years, it was registered again through Namecheap in 2022. Whenever you set up a domain, it basically trusts not just the main domain, but all of the other subdomains.
Okay, this is a combination of two things, right? Number one, a bad SPF config, and two, a stale DNS domain that had the address that pointed to it.
Bonus points to the attacker, right? If this domain was registered on Namecheap before and they re-registered it because they wanted to use the IPs from the same mail relay.
I think we can all agree, hats off. Well done, hackers. Like, this is a cool attack.
Okay, Ivanti. I mean, isn't Ivanti just the same article over and over again at this point?
Yeah, but it's one of those articles that's a gift that just keeps on giving. Mandiant believes that there has been thousands of these devices that were compromised and they've been patched and they're still compromised. The hackers are still on the patch device.
Well, yeah, it turns out patching is not incident response.
Yes, thank you.
like I applied the patch, but the back door is still in the system.
In CISA's advisory, they said the safest course of action for network defenders is to assume a sophisticated threat actor may deploy rootkit level persistence on the device that has been reset and laid dormant for an arbitrary amount of time.
So they definitely warned people appropriately, and people were like, I patched.
I think it is kind of flippant for us just to say, like, well, what do you mean you didn't do IR after you installed a patch? Like, it would break IT if we did full IR after every patch.
Fair, but every patch notification does not say by CISA, this probably is already rooted with a rootkit. Infected repos on GitHub. This is research from a company called Apiro, which sounds like a supervillain. And he goes, Apiro! And then he like finds all your vulnerabilities. And then he goes, Disapiro. Essentially, some threat actor clones popular repos. And then they inject malware into the repos and hope that people just clone the wrong repo. I guess GitHub could scan for quote unquote malware, but
don't they already?
Yeah, I thought they did.
The GitHub usually finds it and deletes it, and
I mean, Metasploit's on there.
Yeah, but Metasploit's like trusted source.
Is it really GitHub's responsibility to check everything?
I don't think that GitHub has a huge legal liability, but they do have a reputational liability.
Does GitHub have a role here to like put a little verified blue check mark on things like this is malware free?
Don't tell them there's going to be verified repos.
It's the whole app store thing. Every app store is potentially vulnerable to malware. You can't thoroughly scan and manually check every GitHub repo. The volume is too big. Be careful what you clone.
Hackers backed by Russia and China are infecting SOHO routers. By the way, does anybody know what SOHO stands for?
Small office, home office.
Nation states love these exploits. And the reason why is SOHO routers are many times the point of entry for initial access to gain a foothold into organizations. And then when you couple that with the fact that a lot of SOHO routers are very, very consistently distributed in a place like Washington, D.C., you have highly targeted access into a population that is probably going to have some intel.
You made that whole thing sound really sexy. Wasn't this just default creds?
A lot of the vulnerabilities that you see in these devices are incredibly basic vulnerabilities.
What's a SOHO router that you would recommend then?
Anything that auto updates on its own.
Update the firmware on your routers.
Alex, how do you tell that to your grandmother?
If you're like a grandparent and you don't know how to do these, it's like befriend a nerd. If you're a nerd out there, befriend somebody that needs your help.
Join us for live InfoSec news every Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Black Hills InfoSec YouTube channel.